So wow, we just finished a series. This series on self-awareness, self-management, maturity. We're moving in now to show you the really in-depth conversation around maturity. As you watch this, you're going to learn some things that you hadn't learned before, you didn't know before. So really pay particular attention to low mature behaviors. And as you start to see these groups present these low mature behaviors, ask yourself, do I exhibit any of those at any time in my life with people that are most important to me? All right, welcome back. So a couple things as we start to present these now and talk about them as a group, a couple things I want you to look for. Understand your low mature behaviors, right? That's key. But then to hone in on and see what behaviors the other temperaments do, because you see these behaviors being exhibited at home, at work, and wherever you go. And the key to this conversation is that these low mature behaviors, what's the impact? What's the impact? Look at those things, those low mature behaviors. What happens because of those behaviors? What's that?
You just hurt the other person.
You could hurt the other person.
You shut down communication.
You can totally shut down communication, which ultimately then impacts our ability to get something that, see, so the reason why we do low mature behaviors is because somehow I'm being impacted. Whereas over here, high mature behaviors they're helping us to achieve something, right? There's always a result we're trying to get to. So I'm really always thinking about, so what is the impact? If I do this, but most of us aren't aware of it. So part of what your challenge can be here today is that when you see these low mature behaviors and you see them starting to surface, first in yourself, only work on that for the next 60 days, 90 days, right? Don't be going home and going, oh, well, that's a low mature behavior, right? Yeah. Oh, now I know why you're such an idiot, son, because you're an orange, right? And they'll go, I have no idea what you're talking about. So really only focus on yourself, but here's what I do know. That if you can identify a low mature behavior that you exhibit, knowing that it's having an impact on relationships, and then focus on turning it around and replacing it with a high mature behavior, because we're going to talk about what that would look like, right? If you get really, really good at that, you eliminate a low mature behavior, you've increased the effectiveness as a human being. Because in the relationship, right? Because that person who you did that low mature behavior with now sees you differently. And initially they're going to go, so you just came back from a class, didn't you? Right? It's like, okay, why are you playing this game with me? You're like, no, sincerely. I don't want to do this behavior anymore. So if you see me doing this behavior, because I know it impacts our relationship, tell me. Because guess what? We've done these low mature behaviors so much that they have just become part of our behavior. So you don't just get to stop it because, well, you know what? Every time I get frustrated, I shut down. That's just now part of what I do. So I don't want to do that anymore because that impacts my ability to communicate well. So I don't want to do that anymore. So what I talk about deliberate, you only face the high mature wall if you deliberately work at it. And so how I deliberately work at it is, if I know that I've got a low mature behavior, I tell everybody I know about it. And I don't want to do this anymore. So when you see me doing this behavior, if I'm doing this behavior to you, call me on it. Say, Dave, I don't know if you meant to or not, but you're doing that low mature behavior thing. And then it's still up to me to go, well, screw you, I'm doing it anyway, right? I could choose to do that. But eventually over time, 30, 60, 90 days is what it says to really change a behavior. Not establish a habit. That whole 21-day habit thing still is. But to actually change a behavior, it takes 90 days. So if you can change one low mature behavior, eliminate that from your life in the next 90 days, this whole day would have been an amazing day for you, right? So that's what we're looking at. So let's just go ahead and put your chart up, and let's just stick all the charts up so we can kind of see them, and we'll just do a mass briefing. So take a note, because I've done this now literally, probably now with this maturity conversation 100 or more times, and the behaviors are very, very consistent. Green, low mature behaviors are very consistent. Orange, gold, they're very consistent. So this, so you aren't unique. Sorry, I mean, you are unique. Please don't. He said I was unique. I hate him. Only the blues hate me. All right, so we've got our green group here. When they get frustrated, they ignore or they just become annoyed, right? Have you ever seen that? Seen that behavior exhibited in friends, family, spouses, whatever it is? If they get angry, what's this? What does that mean? Just leave it. Just leave. Just get out of there. I'm not doing this more. Or they make degrading comments, right? So let me just be clear, right? That's a bad thing, right? That doesn't, none of these behaviors do good for anybody. We think it's doing good for us, right? But the reality is that ultimately at the end of the day, we're trying to be humans, interacting with humans that are all trying to do the best we can. And I think that's the point here, is that if now that we see this is like, well, who would do that intentionally, honestly? I would say nobody. Who would do it not thinking about it? I think all of us would, right? So the key here is to be intentional. Lack of competence, we just get angry, right? All that. Okay. So what would be, I'll do this for you. So what would be a mature behavior? What would be a behavior that you could learn to exhibit that would be a mature behavior? And I want to be clear. Mature behaviors are not the opposites of low mature behaviors. Now, what do I mean by that? Mature behaviors are not the opposite. It's not a one-for-one correlation. If I get angry, I become really nice. That's not how it plays out. I'll use competence, probably is the best. What would be a mature behavior dealing with competence? So first off, describe to me what maturity is. Going from me to we. So I'm facing this wall. That means there's other people there. We're all trying to get to the common goal, and we're all clear about it. So there's a whole bunch of stipulations that's going on over here, right? And for some reason, somebody on the team is not holding up their part of the bargain. Could I, as a green, have a conversation with that human to say, listen, we need you. We need your expertise, and you're failing us as a team. Is that a low mature conversation?
No.
It's not. Because what's my intent?
To bring you back to
My intent is for the team, right? So, but it's a whole different conversation. I could say, listen, you're being an idiot and it's impacting my ability to be successful on this project. I get angry, I'm frustrated, right? So then I call you some weird name or whatever, some degrading comment, right? That's because it's impacting me. But now I've moved to this idea of that's about us, right? Slee and I have this father-daughter relationship. Before I sit down and have a conversation from a low mature perspective, I probably should sit down and say, so what am I really frustrated about? And was I clear about where we were trying to get to? Not where I was trying to get to. Did we actually have a conversation about where we were trying to get to? And if we didn't, then shame on me. So now I can go back and regroup and say, so, the story I'll share with you is, I had a son. He was an idiot driver. He almost killed himself, killed my daughter, and so on and so forth. And I found out about this, and of course, I'm just angry and frustrated, and I'm all kinds of low mature behaviors. Till I finally kind of woke up and go, wait a second. So I sat him down and I said, okay, what is it that you're wanting? He said, I want to be high blue kid, right? This is my high blue kid. Wanting to be with my friends. And after the play, he was always in the drama. He was in the plays. And so after every play, it wouldn't end until like 10:30. The after parties wouldn't start until like after everything got cleaned up and stuff. And so he's finally 11 o'clock, he's getting at somebody's house to have the party. But where we lived out in Virginia, it was 45 minutes to drive to anybody's house, and he had to be home by midnight. So he would show up at the party at 11 o'clock and have to leave 15 minutes later. So what did he do? He would wait, and 20 minutes, 25 minutes. He would stay as long as he could wait, and then finally hop in his car and drive like a maniac, running red lights and blah, 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 all this other stuff. Now, what did I want? Why do you think I wanted him home at midnight? Wanted him safe, that's all. I don't think anything good happened after 11 o'clock at night, whatever it was, so I wanted him home safe. So now we sat down, we talked about it. Here, what do you want, son? Oh, Dad, I want to be able to spend time with my friends. Well, you know what I want is I want you to be safe. Yeah, okay, so what can we do about this? And the conversation then pursued us. So we ended up saying, okay, here's the deal. You leave at midnight. Wherever you're at, you leave at midnight. I know that house is 35 minutes away, and I'll expect you to walk in the door around 12:35. You drive the speed limit with your seatbelt on, don't run any red lights, right? And you get home safely, and you come in and you check in with me when you get home. Met my need, met his need, right? That was a big bit, but we couldn't have had that unless we sat down and talked about, so what is it we're trying to get to? But I think what's lost in our society, in our world, is the fact that we're going too fast. So this takes work, takes effort, right, to do it. To change this, it's going to take some work and effort because this is kind of what we do, right? But I guarantee you that if you do that, the world begins to change, right? It just does. People, human relationships. Okay, blues. Now, I got to say, this is the most low mature behaviors I've ever seen from a blue table. Usually the blues are like, we don't have any low mature behaviors. We love everybody. We care about everybody. And then we start talking about it and they end up coming up with a lot. So what really stood out? We don't need to go over all. Who wants to share kind of the story behind the story? I became unresponsive.
No, I can tell you. So,
Yeah.
like, I was in a situation and I didn't want to answer a question because okay, so Zach was cleaning, he's doing awesome. He's doing a great job. But I can't just watch him clean and not clean myself. And so he said, honey, you don't have to clean. And I was like, well, duh, dude, you're cleaning and this is like my job. You've been at work all week and that's what I'm supposed to do. So I kind of just put it off and didn't respond back because I was like, it's kind of one of those pointless conversations that we don't want to have. He'll get upset, and if I don't answer, maybe it'll be fine. One of those things.
Right.
It did not work.
It didn't work very well. Yeah, it like.
So a lot of low mature behaviors going on both sides.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways.
So, and thanks for sharing that because but that's the reality of, in no intent were you trying to damage a relationship, and no intent were you trying to damage a relationship, but ultimately because for whatever reason, your need to clean because he was cleaning was what? Low mature, high mature? Low mature. Because you needed that, right? Your need,
help her out.
yeah, and your need for her not to clean.
Because it was offensive. I'm cleaning.
Because I'm cleaning. See the word? Here's this interesting word. I'm cleaning, thus you shouldn't be cleaning. And you're like, well, you're cleaning, so I should be cleaning, right? That's this whole I thing. Whereas when we sit down and actually have a conversation as a couple or a family or whatever it is, we sit there and say, so how are we going to manage this home situation, right? How is this going to be? And let's get clarity around it. And now that you know, for example, that he's okay doing that, the mature thing would be is like, well, if you need me, let me know. I'll be available. Otherwise, I'm going to go do this now. Because thank you so much. I love and appreciate that, right? And so you could take the same, but the intent is, it's where we get all messed up is what's the intent? Your intent was absolutely pure to be a helper. Your intent was absolutely pure to be her helper, right? And to honor her for whatever reason. And when it doesn't happen, then how do oranges respond? What was your low mature behavior?
I was pissed.
Right? Now, thanks for sharing this because now think about this. Why would somebody get so angry and frustrated because someone was offering to help? Right? She's like, beats me. I don't have any idea. Right? But I guarantee you, every one of us have a story like this that probably happened in the last 24 hours. Right? So anyway, so thank you for sharing that. And but now you can sit there and go, okay, so the next time I start to become unresponsive, you need to go, oh, wait a second. She's being unresponsive. I wonder why. Right? And this is to me where this whole maturity thing really comes in. Nothing happens in a vacuum. I try to be as deliberate as I can, and if I see somebody doing something, I try to say, so why are you doing that? Why do you have such a great need to work when I'm trying to offer this service to you? Now I know why, because you're sitting at the blue table, right? But then you can sit there and say, well, that's a need I have. It might not be the need that's best for us. So but if you aren't stopping and pausing and having that, then we just call people names, right? We just get angry and frustrated because that's what oranges do, right? Look at the orange chart. Where's it at? Volatile, anger, that's like a number one response for an orange, for whatever reason. It's like, okay, screw you, right? You want to clean, then fine, I'm out of here. Just go ahead and finish cleaning. Here I was trying to give you a gift, and you just poo-pooed all over it, right? And we can laugh about it, but that's happening every day. It's true, yeah. But we can change that now, and that's why I love about this, and I hope that you're getting a sense for this. This temperament thing is one thing. This maturity thing is a whole different conversation. It like takes it to the next level.
We got to be able to talk about it to change.
Right. But it helps me to understand when I see a behavior that's equal to a temperament, I now know, wow, she really does have a need. And why can't she help? What's the big deal? If that helps her to feel happy, then why can't she? Because ultimately we're trying to get the house clean, whatever it is. Or you might say, you know what, if he just feels like he really needs to do it by himself, knowing his temperament, right? Because for an orange, that's a big deal, I'm going to tell you, right? Because, most oranges don't really want to serve other people, right? So those are just things that we learn as we're going through this. All right, and I'm not even a counselor. You are. No. All right. Targeted insults. Oranges are really good at that.
So good.
It's like they're so good at it, right? And fast, right?
We're witty. Acid wit.
Added wit, right, absolutely right, whatever it is. All right, so those are some of the things. So what is the impact that these behaviors have?
Oh, it's awful.
Just pushed you away.
It burns bridges.
What's the impact of low mature behaviors the blues have? Just impacts relationships. It impacts, and ultimately, if relationships are impacted, then it impacts our ability to achieve what it is we're trying to achieve, ultimately. And I will say this: I think the world has led us to believe that we just don't need to worry about that. And I'm saying no. That's why we're on this mission to put the human back into humanity, because it's just we've got to start having conversations with humans, and helping helping our kids, our family, the people we work with. It's just a great concept. Golds, you don't have any low mature behaviors.
Yes, I do.
She's like, yes, I am. They become sassy. Okay, what does that look like? Who's the sassy person? She's over there nice, and she's over there like, whatever. Become sassy, gossiping. Dave has talked about that. It all of a sudden is like, you know what? I'm just gonna, whatever it is. Sarcasm, big deal. Sarcasm, big deal for these. That's actually, I think a lot of us become sarcastic. That's a behavior that comes out of there. Golds will give you the silent treatment. What does that look like? I think you were talking about that. Somebody's talking about it.
When you know you're right and somebody disagrees with you, they deserve not to be talked at the rest of the day.
So, let me pick out a couple of key words, right? When you know you're right, they don't need to be listened to by me. Right? Those are all low mature. That's it's interesting. I can pretty much tell based off of when you're telling me whatever's going on. If I hear a lot of I's and me's, I'm like, interesting. And I actually do this with people that I'm around a lot. I'll say, I don't know, but you're using a lot of I's and me's. Which wall are you facing? And then what happens is it just stops. And they stop and pause, I stop and pause, and then we sit there and go, wait a second, what's going on? Why am I getting frustrated? So before I disengage, I want to, why are you not listening, right? Yeah.
We had ignoring on the sheet already, but silent treatment kept coming up, and Chelsea was this is how I took Chelsea's answer. The difference was there's a little bit of attitude behind that ignoring in silent treatment.
Oh yeah, I know you're ignoring me. It isn't just like you just walk off. It's like, right, there is an attitude associated to this for sure from a goal perspective. And they're as good at attitude as you are at witty, right? They have the look. I mean, it's just a look. And I know that looks a low mature look. I just know what it looks like, right?
I have a question about mine because I do it a lot.
Okay.
When people call me, and I know a group of certain people call me to ask to do something for them. And I don't want to answer because I know what's coming. I just avoid it. I don't answer. Maybe they'll think I'm busy, they won't ask me. And then, maybe for days, the next time they call, then I'll answer.
Okay.
I know that's being really immature, but I don't know how to not.
So one, thanks for using the word immature,
Yeah.
because I want to be very clear. The word is low mature. Immature is actually a behavior. Low mature is the concept. So there's all kinds of behaviors associated. So as you're doing, because that's a natural thing that people do. It's like, oh, that's an immature behavior. No, you're operating from a low mature perspective or a high mature perspective. So thanks for letting me share that with the group. Then the question that I would pose, and we can talk about it as a group for a second. So what would be a mature response?
To answer and be able to assertively say yes or no.
Yeah,
if
I
you
can't
can
do this.
Provide the support.
Right.
Yeah.
But do it
Tell
in.
me how that goes.
Yeah, I know. Which is, it's like, I'd rather be able to just ignore it than tell them no,
Yeah.
right? So,
Or take it on.
but or take it on,
Mhm.
right? And so the question again comes is that what's the right conversation? And no matter, this is what I've learned, and again, I would say, I kind of developed this process and I've practiced this, and I think I'm probably about 50% good at it. But I can tell you, the second that I am low mature, I know it instantaneously. I don't stop. I still kind of let it play out, right? But as soon as I'm done, I'm like, dang it, right? And then I'll go back and I'll say, hey, I know that what I just did and what I said is, no, so now can we sit down, let's have a better conversation. I'm always wanting to know, what is it that we're needing to do here? Somebody calls me and says, hey, I need you to do this, and can you do me and help me with this? I'm like, sure, hold on for a second. So what is it that we're trying to accomplish? And that immediately changes the conversation, because the conversation initially is, what are you needing me to do? What are you wanting me to do? As compared to, so what is it we're trying to accomplish here? Okay, now that we have that laid out, who are the best people to help with this? I've got time, I could do this, but who else could do that? Who else could do this? Who could do that, right? And then we just end it's a great positive conversation. I might or might not have time to do once we determine what needs to be done, I might say, you know what? I can't help with this, but maybe so-and-so could once and now. But it's just, we just operate, we're trying to be too efficient. And what we really got to switch in our minds is we need to be more effective. Okay, does that help? I don't know. We sit there and say, well, why are we going to end on this negative note? I want to tell you that to me, this conversation, although it seems like, man, this is kind of, it was so much funner when we were doing the four lenses conversation. But this to me is amazing. This is fun to sit there and know that I can make a difference by just looking at my behavior, analyzing low mature, high mature. It's really easy. And you can share this concept. I have people that share it, and I have leadership. I have boardrooms. You walk in the boardrooms, and there on one wall it says low mature and has the words on it, and high mature over here. And they start their meetings with, okay, as we're getting ready to have this conversation, what would be potentially some low mature behaviors that could come up as we're having this conversation with this group of people? And they put them up on the wall. And then they'll say, so if anybody sees one of those, recognize it, call it out immediately, because we don't want those in this conversation. What would high mature behaviors in this conversation look like? And they'll put it up on the wall. You can do it at home. You can do it one-on-one, whatever it is. Be deliberate about it, though. That's the key. Okay. Questions about maturity. It's hard, but it's really, it's actually a lot easier than it sounds. If you have what? Here's the final question of the day. Whoever gets it, then you all get prizes. If you have what? How is this going to work? What helped Dave to begin to change to understand his son a little bit better?
Patience.
I had my insight, I had my self-awareness.
Coaches.
I had a coach. And I'm talking about, you don't have to go buy a formal coach. Anybody could be a coach. My 7-year-old, Brian, my son, was 7 years old, he became he loved coaching me. Because it gave him permission to come and say, Dad, you're not doing it right, or you're not being good, whatever it was. And I'm like, oh, And sometimes it was, you little snot, you're right, I'm not being good, let me tell you. But over time, so find somebody. Here's this low mature behavior. Be non-responsive. Tell everybody, hey, it looks like I might have this behavior that kind of happens when I feel whatever it is. Or I just ignore, right? So, and I don't want to do that anymore. So let people know. So your challenge is this. Pick one, not today, not right now, but sometime think about it over the weekend. Tomorrow's always a great day just to contemplate. Identify one low mature behavior that is currently active. Write it down. Think about what would it look like to be more high mature? What would that behavior look like if I was thinking of? And what are the key elements to high mature behavior? Team. And that team could be me and my spouse. It could be me and my family. It could be me and my teenager. It could be me and my person at work, whatever it is, right? So it's me and somebody else as we're working towards a goal. There has to be a reason why we're moving towards something, and we both have to know what that is. So if all those things exist, I'm facing the high mature wall, I understand that we're a team, and I understand this is where we're trying to go, and you understand this is where we're trying to go, now let's talk about it. Golds get the rap for being control freaks. That's usually a behavior that comes up, right? Oh, they're just control freaks. You can be a control freak, and that could be a high mature behavior. Why?
Because the situation calls for it.
The situation calls for us to have an organized approach to attack this problem to get us to the result we're trying to get to. And there's nobody better. But that came up in our discussion, right? Fighting against the world, fighting against structure and process could be a low mature behavior or a high mature behavior. How? Depends on the intent. I don't understand why we need to follow all 10 of those steps when we've already said that step 3 it doesn't serve any purpose. For a gold, knocking step 3 out of that system is like a major deal, right? But it's possible that you could even say, you know what? I can see that that's true. Let's not do step 3 and be okay with it. It's okay for me not to get my 4-hour marathon because she really did. She was about this team that was going on. And that was just, I loved watching this family and everything that went on with that. Because I know how much, honestly, I knew how much she wanted that 4-hour block.
I know I could do it.
So, all right. So that said, any questions? So we bring some closure to this.
I just have a question about.
I didn't really mean it. Just kidding.
Like, oh no.
Look at her.
Hurt her feelings.
She's nervous.
Selena's used to that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, what? Go ahead.
Just how your other, I kind of forgot.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But no, I just like with the blue and like if you have a little bit of the other behavior, how they kind of coexist and working and I guess it just works the same way because if you're working on your low behaviors of this group, then you want to look at your low behaviors of all the other groups, I guess.
Absolutely. That's perfect. And so let me just give you a simple diagram to illustrate that point. Since none of us are one temperament, so I just don't have one type of low mature behaviors, right? So I'm a high orange gold. When I get stressed, when things aren't going well, and I don't have the freedom that I want, I automatically, I call it downshift. I downshift into a gold person. And I become very low mature because I don't operate there as well as I could. And so I get really frustrated fastly and so on and so forth. Whereas, and so these all play out. If you see me exhibiting some blue behaviors, the chances are they're going to be totally low mature blue behaviors because that's just not, I'm not even aware of it. So we call it downshifting when I can't be in my primary temperament. If I'm a blue and all of a sudden relationships started going all sideways and I couldn't seem to help anybody, and then I'm going to downshift into my next color. And if that happens to be orange, you'll find the kindest, wonderful human being. They downshift in their orange. They're not like, screw you, you're an idiot, blah, 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 right? Because they're orange and it's the low mature behaviors come from the orange. So what I try to do again is, and this is what I share, I don't go around trying to figure out what people's colors are anymore. I don't. I observe behavior and I want to find out why you're behaving that way. That's all I'm trying to do. we were in that meeting. I saw you getting frustrated at the meeting. You shut down. I know those are things that kind of, I see you naturally doing that. What was going on? Help me to understand what was going on and why you went there. As compared to, did you see that? We were in that meeting and the jerk, as I was talking, he just shut down. He stopped talking. And then I tell you all about it, about what a jerk he was in that meeting. And then we're all talking. And the reality is I have no idea why you did that.
Because I'm a jerk.
Well, I mean, we might find that out. But. So that's the key. It's just communicate, over-communicate. And when I see behavior, I don't make a judgment on high mature, low mature. What do? I ask. What was your intent? When you got really mad and frustrated the other day when you were doing that, I just want to know why did you get so angry about that? What was going on? Well, it's because every time I try to do something for you, you never let me do it. You never accept my gift, blah, blah, blah. What is that? Low mature, why?
It's about how it's impacting
Right.
yourself.
And I'd say, well, it sounds like, I'm not sure, but those words you're saying, it sounds like you're facing a low mature wall. What would have happened if you would have faced the high mature? What would that look like? Oh, okay. And then we just go on, right? We just go on, helping each other. All right, so thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you got some value out of today. You're going to leave here to do what? What are you doing today or tomorrow? You're going to pick just one low mature behavior. Work on it for at least 90 days, right? Share, talk people out loud. Don't be a Dave. 20 some odd years ago, I went to a course and I the whole time I sat in the course, like, I wish Sarah was here. Man, I wish she was here. She needs this course so bad. And I literally went home with the books and I threw the books down and said, oh, honey, I have found this course that you need and I need to tell you all about it. And she, luckily for me, turned in a little green mode and says, oh, you're just an idiot. Probably a low mature statement at the time, but she's like, you know what? You not only can't teach me that because I don't even know that you know it, but you definitely don't live it. I mean, that was just and so I spent almost 3 years working on that before I ever came back and approached her or the family on how do we change and how do we improve and those kind of things. So work on yourself first, but include everybody in it. So that's the key. So how do you teach others? Ask them to help you. Ask them to help you. Hey, I really want to change and get better at this. Will you help me with that? Oh yeah, everyone wants to help. I don't care what temperament you are. So just ask them, don't do it in a vac. Oh, I'm going to work on this. Greens will have this problem. I'm just going to work on this until I master it myself. Because it's weakness if I have to let it out and have other people help me. Right? So so open it up. So one of the things we'd like to invite you to do is click below in the description. There's a little button that says more. Click on that more and take our free assessment. And as you do that, you can help us on our journey of helping us put the human back into humanity.